Legends of Origin, Book 1, Sanctuary for the Devil. Chapter 3. Arthian sprang to his feet. As much as he wanted to hear the rest of Liam's story, the first stranger to come seeking sanctuary was a mystery all were eager to have solved, particularly now that he was not the only one. He was halfway out of the door when he thought to ask Liam to come with him. The first stranger had worn strange clothes similar to Liam's, so may feel more comfortable with Liam around, and his reason for needing sanctuary may be the same, although Saw hadn't asked about him when he'd come for Liam. He turned back to see Liam standing uncertainly. "Coming?" Liam nodded, then followed him down the passage to where the other newcomer was. When they entered the room and drew near the bed, Liam gasped and Arthian turned to look at him. His face displayed clear recognition and shock. Liam had obviously not expected to find this man here. "You know him?" Sirthon strode in and ordered everyone out.
"Shame on you lot. He needs his rest. You can pester him tomorrow."
"But," Arthian protested.
"No buts! Out! Now! The lot of you!"
When Arthian turned to leave, Liam was gone. Drat. Clearly he didn't want to answer the question, which intensified Arthian's curiosity. Over the next 2 days, Arthian was unable to catch Liam alone so they could continue their conversation, though not through lack of trying. Despite the raging winds, the stranger, uncharacteristically, was up earlier than Arthian both mornings, which was early indeed, and spent his time walking around the monastery's extensive gardens or sitting in a meditative state in the prayer room when the weather got too bad. Although Arthian suspected he wasn't actually praying, he was still unable to bring himself to break the rules and disturb Liam in this room. On a number of occasions, Arthian spotted Liam lurking around the other stranger's room, as if he intended to enter. Something always held him back, though, and he looked increasingly unhappy. The first newcomer was still too weak to say much more than please and thank you, and had lost his memory too, so perhaps Liam was waiting for him to be in good health and regain his memory of who he was. When Liam spotted Arthian approaching, he would pretend not to see him and stride in the opposite direction, vanishing around the corner and back into the gardens. Near the end of the second day, Arthian briefly thought he'd got Liam when he'd walked into his room unannounced, to avoid his knock being ignored again, and caught Liam looking at a shiny piece of paper with a realistic color drawing of a large, fearsome animal he'd never seen before. The fury in Liam's eyes had terrified him, and, for a moment, he'd been afraid for his life. Liam had chased him from the room, literally, and he had since given up for fear of breaking the tenuous bond they had begun to form. At twilight that same day, a scrawny messenger on horseback arrived with foreboding news. He was clearly nervous and struggled to read the message. Eventually, Abbot Jurger asked him for the piece of paper, which the boy handed over with obvious gratitude. Liam went numb as the abbot read it out for them.
"The High Council has passed an amended sanctuary law. From this day forth, sanctuary may only be claimed for a period of 30 days. Once this period of grace is over, monasteries are obligated by law to evict the person or persons in question. Any monastery not complying with this law shall be burnt to the ground for the treasonous crime of harboring enemies of God and the land."
A hush fell over the crowd of Tridorians, broken only by a few gasps of horror. The numbness that pervaded Liam's body now spread to his mind, and he didn't notice Arthian arrive at his side until the monk touched his arm to get his attention. Liam jumped and spun away. Arthian whispered, "It's just me." Liam stared at him, forgetting for a moment why he'd been avoiding the monk, whom he now stared at dumbly, unable to find his tongue. To alter the laws of sanctuary is just not done. It's unthinkable, Arthian said gravely, loud enough for all to hear. It's sacrilege. This cannot be God's will. What will we do? He turned to look at Abbot Jurger. Liam and the others automatically turned to the abbot too, waiting for his answer. Abbot Jurger's face was white, his usual confidence seemingly drained. He opened his mouth a few times, shut it each time without saying anything, then turned to the messenger. Do you? His voice caught, and he cleared his throat. Do you know what brought this on? Why would the High Council do such a thing? The messenger shuffled his feet, his eyes on the ground. Abbot Jurger snapped. Speak! The boy looked up and scanned the crowd, his gaze finally coming to rest on Liam. He nodded at Liam, and all eyes turned to the foreigner. Finally, he found the nerve to speak. Sa wants him. Badly. He tried to kill Sa, you know. That's why the High Council agreed to the new law. In fact, Sa wanted to make it against the law to give sanctuary at all to anyone who tries to kill the ruler, but the council voted against it. Abbot Jurger scowled. What nonsense do you speak? Who would want to kill a ruler as kind-hearted as Sa? Why would Sa lie? The messenger asked. The crowd murmured as Abbot Jurger stood open-mouthed, clearly unable to answer. He turned to Liam. What do you have to say about this accusation? It's true. More gasps and mutterings came from the group. Liam stepped forward, his resolve strengthening. If you knew my reasons, you would understand. He glanced at Arthian, who looked unsure and worried. Despite this, the monk strode towards Abbot Jurger and stood beside him, facing the group. I'm told that our good ruler bargains with the devil himself. Further gasps rippled through the group. Liam added, That's not all. He's a murderer and a thief, and he's trying to destroy your world. Abbot Jurger's scowl deepened and his lips drew tight. Do you have proof of your accusations? Liam met the abbot's gaze. Oh, yes. Silence once again descended over the small group as they waited for him to elaborate. How was he supposed to tell them? Who would believe him? Nobody. He was sure of it. Well, send the messenger away. I won't speak in front of the devil's courier. Liam glanced at the poor messenger, who lowered his eyes. Abbot Jurger seemed unsure. Then Arthian's voice rang out. We should hear him out. His heart is that of a good man, and I see no deceit in his eyes now. This is not news to me, for he recently told me this of his own accord. I've prayed about it, and I believe he speaks the truth. Abbot Jurger nodded, turning to the messenger. Your message has been received. He waved the message in front of the boy's face. May we keep this? The messenger nodded dumbly. Thank you. You may go now. The messenger fidgeted and shuffled his feet, glanced at Liam again, then back at the abbot. How shall I say the news was received? Messenger on horseback, the way it was sent. Abbot Jurger replied sarcastically. Liam almost smiled. So much for monks not needing sarcasm. The messenger stuttered. I mean... Abbot Jurger snapped. I know what you mean. I saw no request in writing from the council requesting a response from any monastery, including Tritor. On whose behalf do you ask, then? I was just curious, stammered the messenger. Liam turned cold eyes on him. Curiosity killed the cat. He smiled piteously. The messenger turned and fled back to his horse a few paces away, sprang onto its back, and galloped away, without looking back. Abbot Jurger turned to Liam.
Did you just threaten him? That was not wise.
Arthur asked, "What's a cat?" Liam was startled. He'd assumed all the animals on this planet would match those on Earth, since he'd recognized every animal he'd encountered here thus far. He saw everyone was waiting for him to answer, so he said, "It's a small domestic animal with fur, a companion to humans, a pet." He shrugged. "Quite harmless animals, really, unless you pissed them off." He grinned. Abbot Jurger's voice was strained.
Come to the meeting hall, everyone. The stranger will tell his story.
He turned to glare at Liam.
This time, you will not deny us answers to our questions, for we will not break the law of the land for a deceiver.
Another round of murmurs spread through the group. Liam nodded, flabbergasted. Did that mean the abbot was considering breaking the new law? It sure sounded like it. Why would he put his entire order at risk for a man he barely knew? Why would he believe a stranger's word above that of a ruler he held in high esteem? If this is it, if this planet is home to the root of all good. Arthian walked by his side to the meeting hall, and Liam mumbled, "Seems you're about to get your wish after all, monk." Arthian nodded, his distress obvious from the lines around his eyes and tautness of his expression. He replied softly, "I would rather not know than know under these circumstances, friend." "You still call me friend. How can you be so sure of me and who I am to you?" "I have looked into your eyes, remember? Into your very soul. God has placed a burden on my heart to ensure your safety. That is enough for me." "Perhaps you should tell your fellow monks then, before they hang me out to dry." Liam stopped walking abruptly. "In fact, what am I even thinking? I must leave before it's too late." Arthian placed a hand on his arm. "There are many sunrises to come before 30 days are over." "He won't wait 30 days. He is a dishonorable brute who considers the devil a friend. His word means nothing." Someone tapped Liam's back, and he turned to face Farek. The monk looked worried as he fingered a black pouch hanging from his waist sash and said,
"Whatever you know of Saw, nobody believes he would burn a place of God to the ground, or that he knowingly works for the devil."
Liam turned back and continued walking without a word. In the meeting hall, a hush descended as Abbot Jurger addressed them.
"We will let him speak."
He glanced at Liam, who stood next to him at the lectern.
"May God open our eyes to the truth, whatever it may be."
Perspiration trickled down Liam's sides, cooling the heat of fear. "Tell me one thing before I start. If you believe me, will you help me?" The abbot hesitated, but Arthian, at the front of the group, stated firmly, "I will." Abbot Jurger looked concerned, but nodded at Liam.
"A very big if."
Liam nodded, grateful for Arthian's support. "I need to start at the beginning, or you won't understand any of it." He cleared his throat. "I was hiking in the mountains near my home about 7 years ago. Zach was with me." His voice caught and he cleared his throat again. "My best friend Zach was with me. He heard something up ahead and ran to see what it was. I didn't take much note because he was always doing things like that. Nothing dangerous lives in those mountains, and Zach always came back, so it didn't concern me." A man near the front asked,
Why would he always run to see what something is if there was never any risk of danger?
Liam scowled and replied icily, "That's what dogs do."
Dogs?
Yeah, man's best friend. Dog. Liam's scowl intensified. Far better than any human friend, I might add. 1,000 times more loyal, and you can rest assured that a dog would never betray you or desert you, no matter what your reasons for doing something. He glared at Abbot Jurger accusingly. Arthian stepped forward and faced the group.
Please, let him finish before you question him. More questions will only bring more confusion at this point.
Abbot Jurger appeared taken back by the monk's brashness, but said,
He's right. Ask your questions when he's done, or we'll never get anywhere.
Liam took a shaky breath, doing his best to control the rush of emotions that threatened to overwhelm him at the remembrance of Zack's death. As I was saying, he glowered at the nun who had asked the question, daring her to interrupt again. She looked away, and he continued. I heard Zack snarl, and it sounded as if he was attacking something. When I rounded a bend in the trail ahead, I saw he had dragged something out of the bushes and was worrying with it. He saw the Tridorian's confusion at his choice of words, and elaborated. He was shaking it around, biting it and growling at it. When I came closer, I saw that it was a young child, no more than 3 or 4 years of age. Gasps of horror came from the group. Liam went on. At first, I was horror-struck. Zack was always a gentle animal, and he loved children. I called him away, and he came at once. When I bent over it to see if it was alive, I realized why Zack had attacked it. It wasn't human. It had the body of a child, but the face of a pig. And it wasn't dead. It reached up to grab my throat and began choking me. I was convinced I was about to die. Zack attacked it again, but it was strong. It threw him away as if he weighed no more than an empty sack. He must have surprised it initially, maybe stunned it, to get a hold of it the way he had. From out of nowhere, a man appeared, holding what looked like a spear. A bolt of energy shot from the tip, hitting the child demon in the face. Its hand fell from my neck and it sank back, obviously dead. Zack got lucky that time. He landed on a patch of long grass, which cushioned his fall, although he was stunned. The man told me he had been hunting the creature for some time, but it had eluded him constantly, as if it always knew what he would do next and where he would be next. These demons, he told me, were searching for the place where all good originates, and he claimed it was his job to stop them. Liam stopped to catch his breath. What he had to say next was even more unbelievable, and he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. So why would the Tridorians? Anyway, this man, Joshua, claimed that he had died some time before and had been offered the opportunity to come back, live again, on condition that he spent his days chasing demons to ensure they never find the origin of good. Arthian obviously couldn't help himself.
Are you talking about the place where God resides? How can that be? God is everywhere.
Liam shrugged. I don't think so. The only ancient texts I had time to look at said that this is the place from which the universe and everything in it was created, the starting point of all creation. According to legend, if pure evil ever had to set foot in this place, the balance of good and evil would be destroyed and chaos would rule, or the fabric of time would unravel and the universe would be destroyed. There are a few other theories, too, none of them pleasant. Liam hesitated. Should he tell them what he suspected? No, they weren't ready to hear that yet. Abbot Jurger said impatiently,
Go on.
Joshua told me that he had been given a dream message to get help, to find this place of peace. His exact words, if I remember correctly, were to seek help from a man whose true power walks in his shadow, loyal to him and only him unto the end. According to him, that was me, since Zack was physically stronger than me, being the unusually muscular crossbreed he was. He was my power. It made sense to me at the time, because Zack was also the only reason I ever bothered trying to be a good person, really. He was my true power, because he was the one who made me want to be as good a person as he already saw me. Arthian interrupted again.
Wouldn't that make any man with a dog the one he needed to ask for help? How did he know it was you?
Liam shrugged. I asked him the same thing. He said he just knew. Anyway, he had my interest, so I agreed to help him. And for the last 6 months, I've been researching this place from where all good is said to have been created. I haven't found out much more than I've already told you, except that it doesn't appear to be on our planet. This brought more gasps and murmurs from the group. Abbot Jurger asked,
So you're saying it cannot be found? It's in the spiritual world.
No, I'm saying it's probably not on our planet. On my planet, Earth. Abbot Jurger scowled.
We are on Earth.
Liam shook his head. No, we are not. Joshua had been teaching me how to teleport, and once I'd finally got the hang of using the teleport, another monk interrupted. Liam sighed. Yes, teleport. It means disappear from one place and appear in another place instantly. That's the quickest way to explain it. Abbot Jurger snapped.
You speak of the powers of God. Who are you to use God's power? Do you expect us to believe that you even can? That he would allow it?
It's not God's power. It may be power given by God, but it's not stolen power as you insinuate. Even you have the ability to teleport. It's like anything else. It just needs to be learnt, and you need to have the right equipment. Some of our ancient religious manuscripts say that if the mind can imagine it, it's possible. So, Abbot Jurger opened his mouth, presumably to object again, but Arthian murmured,
Please, brothers and sisters, we must let him finish. We can debate the details after.
The abbot closed his mouth and glared at Arthian.
Yes, yes.
He looked at Liam disapprovingly.
Go on, and make it quick. It's getting late.
As I was saying, once my body was used to teleporting, Joshua gave me stronger crystals so I could teleport far enough to reach other planets. That was about a year ago. Since then, I've lost track of how many planets I've teleported to. It takes a lot out of you, a lot of energy. And there's also no way of knowing for sure if the planet you're going to even can support life. Joshua got hold of a spacesuit for me, and if not for that, I'd be dead already, since this planet is the first I've come to that can support human life. It doesn't surprise me that you call this planet Earth, too. There are a lot of similarities between our two planets. Anyway, when I got here a few weeks ago, after discovering the air was breathable, I went back for Zack and Joshua. The three of us explored for a few days and eventually settled down in a small village called Driel, where the villagers were welcoming and eager to share their knowledge of the land with strangers. There, we learnt a little of your history, of the tyrant ruler Cayenne, and of the man who had slain him and brought peace to the land, Saw. Another monk said,
So, you admit Saw is a good man?
Liam scowled. I admitted nothing of the sort. He may have been a good man, But good men don't always remain good, especially those who are granted great power. Power corrupts, and the greater the power, the greater the extent of corruption. I've looked Saw in the eyes, and he is a man who craves nothing but more power, and he doesn't care how he gets it. He paused. Even if it means getting in bed with the devil.
Abbot Jurger said frostily, "Get on with it. What happened?"
Liam rubbed his temples. Arthian touched his shoulder.
Speak freely, brother. God is your only judge.
Are you sure about that?
Arthian smiled. I will remind any who forget.
Liam squeezed his eyes shut, then opened them again. After about a week in the village, we asked to meet Saw. We'd heard all the stories of your history and were convinced that this place of great peace was on your planet. I thought the entire planet was the beginning of all good in the universe, but Joshua wasn't convinced it was a single place on the planet. From what we'd been told about the laws of your land, and from what we'd seen of the people, one of us had to be right. You see, where we come from, our planet Earth, you cannot really trust anyone. Some cannot even trust their own parents or siblings, their best friends, well, unless your best friend happens to be a dog, that is. On our planet, most humans put themselves first, and when it comes to the crunch, the only person you can rely on to always be there is yourself. The times anyone goes against the norm, they're usually made to regret it, either by the very ones they've helped or some external event. It's like negativity seeps into everything. Of course, there are exceptions, but evil lurks somewhere within the hearts of all humans. I think so, anyway. Even the best among us, the most pure hearted, retain some semblance of evil deep inside. It's hard not to when you're surrounded by spiritual filth. We say it's part of being human. But here, on your planet, we observed nothing but honesty, loyalty, empathy, and love. Nothing but peace and honor. There are few people on our Earth, who would be 100% happy with their ruler or life in general. On our Earth, there are always conflicts in government, always something someone isn't happy about. Here, the unhappy ones are the exception, whereas on my Earth, the truly happy ones are the exception. Based on this alone, I'm convinced that one of us is right. Either this entire planet is the place where all good was first created, or somewhere on this planet is that place. After meeting Saw, I've come to believe that Joshua's theory is the most likely, since Saw is anything but good. More muttering came from the group, and Liam went on before he could be interrupted again. The villagers took us to see Saw the next day. When we first met him, Zack bared his teeth at him and growled almost non-stop. Eventually, Saw insisted that he be removed from his presence. I waited outside the compound with Zack. I never leave him alone in strange places. I already didn't like Saw. Anyone Zack dislikes is not worth knowing, and I've learned that from experience. Dogs just know, you know? Anyway, after a long while of waiting, one of the guards outside made the mistake of pointing at Zack. Him and his fellow soldier were obviously discussing him. Anyway, Zack hates being pointed at, so he snarled at him and barked. The guard got a fright and raised his weapon, which I suddenly noticed was a weapon of Earth. My Earth. Up until then, I hadn't seen any sort of technology on this planet, and it shocked me to see that some guards were armed with firearms. Guns. Liam realized that he was again speaking in terms they couldn't understand, and added, Guns are dangerous weapons that can kill from a distance. Like seriously short arrows that shoot from a barrel. Tube. Anyway, I could have smoothed the situation, explained to them how Zach's mind worked so they could understand him and not be afraid, and not do foolish things like pointing weapons at him. He may be a dog, but he's not stupid. He knows what a gun is and what it can do. Instead, I became angry that they dared point a weapon at my best friend. I hit the weapon from the guard's hand and struck him across the face. All in all, I think there were about 5 guards, all armed with weapons new to your planet. A second guard pointed his weapon at me, and Zach launched himself at the guard's throat to protect me. That was when Liam choked on his words. That was when the bastards shot him in the head. He died instantly. Tears formed at the corners of his eyes, threatening to spill over. He didn't bother fighting them this time. The bastards killed him for protecting me. Because I was too stupid to see what would happen. Because I couldn't control my anger. Liam was surprised to see Arthian's eyes glistening with unshed tears. Pretending not to notice, he went on. I was hit over the back of the head and woke up in a prison cell. Needless to say, this was not our intention when we arrived. Obviously. We'd expected to be greeted in the same way the villagers had greeted us, and to make another new friend, who could possibly be of more use in helping to find the origin of all good. There was no sign of Joshua, and when I asked about him, the guards would only laugh and refuse to answer, so I assumed that he, too, was dead. I'm not sure how many nights I spent in that cell, but one morning I was released for an audience with Saw. He wanted to know everything I knew about the Place of Peace. I could only assume that Joshua had told him the overall story already, because that's the only way he could have known we were looking for it. Clearly, Joshua, too, had realized that Zach's disliking of Saw, along with my arrest, meant no good would come of associating with him, and had refused to give him enough details to aid him in finding the place. Saw told me that he could return Zach to me, alive and well, if I helped him to find the Place of Peace. I didn't believe him, so refused. Liam's eyes clouded further as he recalled what happened next.